Hello there, BookTube. My name is Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. I've got no rhythm. Today I'm going to do a book review of Coloured Television by Danzy Senna. This is one of those slightly unnerving things. I think it's a comic novel or a satire or one of those things that I'm never really super comfortable with. Plot-wise, we have Jane, who is a biracial novelist, married to a husband who makes a living or some kind of living as a painter, and they are living in a home that doesn't belong to them. One of their friends who's very successful is abroad for a year or more, and so they are living in his home. So everything about them is sort of on the periphery and out, appears to be normal, but they're not making enough money and they're not living in their own place, and into this is Jane's sense of what it means to be biracial, and that plays into all her work. She writes about, and she uses the term mulatto, which I had always understood to be slightly offensive, and it was a way that the offspring of slaves and slave owners were racially segregated and divided into how much of their ancestry was white and versus black, etc., etc. These are areas that are super uncomfortable for a white guy like me to talk about, but over a number of different books that I read, not just this, I understand that within that community there are degrees of blackness and perceived blackness which people wrestle with. Darker skinned and lighter skinned African Americans are aware of subcategories that I would not be aware of, and that's very much, that's not just the periphery of this book. That's very much the focus of what Jane, the character, is concerned with. And she's not been very successful. She's spent 10 years writing a novel. When she finally sends off a draft, she's really happy with it, and she sends it off to her editor and gets a very sort of non-committal approach, which sends her off spiraling into how she's going to possibly be able to continue to exist as a person of the arts, as a person wrestling with her racial identity, etc., etc. A lot of this is very sharply written, some beautifully crafted sentences. It just doesn't really amount to much. So the second half of the book, Jane gets involved with a Hollywood producer who I believe is also biracial. And so he latches onto her and what she's trying to do, and they spend nights together, and her at his production office, and dinners where they're wrestling with that idea, and they could just make it like this, and then he gives her notes, and yes, no, that's great, but we just need to do this, and this stretches on and on, and also, spoilers, doesn't really come to signify a whole lot. So there's a lot of goodness going on here. It just doesn't really amount to much, and if I was being, maybe it's inappropriate to say that there's something of a shared disdain for wrapped up endings between this author and her husband, which I've commented on his inability to end. I think the works I've read of his have been worth the fact that the ending doesn't really work out. Here, it just left me a little bit. I got to the end of it and think, oh, well, why did I bother with that? We've learned nothing. The characters haven't moved forward in any way, and there's been some sharp writing along the way and some good insights into a world that I'm not familiar with, but I just don't think it was more than the sum of its parts, and probably a little bit less. I think I gave this 3 stars, which is the most sort of irrelevant rating you can give on Goodreads, but I noticed there were a bunch of other sort of 3-star reads as well, 3-star reviews. So interesting. I was happy to read this. This was another gift from my friend Cindy, who had read this. I think also was similarly non-committal about it. Good for the writing, not great as a completed novel. That's Coloured Television by Danzy Senna. Take care. God bless. Bye.